Who is the best player in Ligue 1 right now? It's difficult to say, right? You see, 5 years ago, French football was in a fantastic place. The best players in the world played in the league. The best young players played in the league. A French team was in the Champions League final. To give you an idea, here is a graph showing the broadcast revenues in France at the time. MediaPro, a big French broadcaster, were bullish. They swooped in and increased the broadcast deal in France by 60% on the previous one from Canal+. However, just 4 months after that deal, everything fell apart. They backed out of the deal and the French Football Federation scrambled to find a replacement. This then had a massive impact on the league, the clubs, and the players. I'm Jordan. I'm on a mission to bring the business of sport to 1 million people. Today, we are going to get into the crucial business of broadcast rights and show you how French football has struggled since that deal fell apart. As we go through this video, you're also going to see how this very same thing happened right here in the UK not too long ago too. Make sure you stick around for that. It's important that you understand just how deep this problem really lies. To do that though, I want you to remember the graph I showed you a few moments ago about the broadcast revenues in France. We'll be coming back to that a fair bit in the next few minutes. MediaPro invested a lot in French football. Everyone was feeling confident, money was flowing, and it was healthy. They launched a subscription service called Téléfoot, where you could watch Ligue 1 games. To break even on the venture, they needed 3.5 million subscribers paying €25 a month. Sounds plausible, right? Well, shortly after the venture launched, they had 800,000, falling far short of their target of 3.5 million. To make matters worse, around the same time, the pandemic hit. Matches were postponed and played behind closed doors. Advertisers pulled back. All of this really impacted MediaPro's revenues. They paid their first installment to the French Football Federation of €172 million in August of 2020. 2 months later, the second installment was due. They asked for an extension. In December, just 2 months after that, MediaPro paid €100 million and exited their contract with the French Football League. The season started in August. It was all done by December. It was a really sticky situation in France, and many people pointed the fingers at Nathalie Boy de la Tour, the president of the LFP at the time, citing failure to get the appropriate guarantees financially from MediaPro during the deal cycle. MediaPro were reportedly interested in doing the exact same thing and buying broadcast rights for Serie A in the season prior. They, however, said no to the deal because they didn't feel like MediaPro could fulfill their financial obligations. The French league, however, said yes, come right in, and reportedly did not conduct the proper due diligence. Sad. So now you're probably thinking, okay, well, the big deal fell apart. How much was the renewal? Well, Amazon sensed an opportunity. The €780 million that MediaPro negotiated with the French Football League, Amazon took it over for €250 million. Combine that with the smaller package from Canal+ and international broadcast rights, brought the total amount to €680 million, down from the €1.12 billion expected with the MediaPro deal. The impact on French clubs? Crazy. If you've been a follower of my platform for some time, you'll know I write a newsletter brought to your email inbox every Monday at 11 a.m. UK time. There's over 1,000 of you in there. Join them by clicking the first link in the description below. Now, how are the clubs doing? This is a graph that shows the revenue distribution of all Ligue 1 clubs in 2022. By the way, there's 19 clubs here, not 20. I've missed PSG out because I just want to show you how much money they make relative to the rest of the league. It's an obscene amount. Despite them getting the lion's share of the broadcast revenue, they are the one that's most insulated from the broadcast crisis because they just make so much money elsewhere. However, look at these other clubs. Their top line revenue isn't as much, and sometimes broadcast revenues make up more than a third of total revenues for these clubs. They really started to suffer. Before we get to the suffering, someone else swooped in, sensing an opportunity. If you've been a follower of me for a while, you know that I've done previous videos about private equity companies swooping in European football. CVC Capital Partners saw the French Football League in a bit of distress and negotiated a deal, investing €1.1 billion into the league in exchange for a 13% revenue share. This money, again, was a timely injection of capital into French football and was going to be distributed to French clubs over the next 3 seasons. Whilst it was a nice shot in the arm, it wasn't enough. Lille, who won the league in this time, really had to sell players. Mike Maignan, great goalkeeper, sold to AC Milan. Boubacar Soumari came to the UK. Big deal for Leicester. Bordeaux are one of the most historical clubs in French history. They finished last around this time and got relegated to Ligue 2. However, when they were there, they got punished even further after suffering administrative relegation to the third tier of French football because they had massive debts and were struggling to pay them back. They appealed that decision and were allowed to stabilise in Ligue 2 after finding some capital. But Christ, what a sad story of events for a historic club. Saint-Etienne were the same. They too were relegated in this time to Ligue 2 and had to sell some players across the next few seasons. Wesley Fofana to Leicester being a big one. Denis Bouanga was a big player for them. They had to sell him too. Similarly, Lucas Novick, young talent, sold for 13 million euros. Amongst all of this chaos, they too were deducted points as they got to the second division of French football. It's sad, and they're not the only clubs either. Angers, Montpellier, Strasbourg, they are all struggling financially, and some of them have even been referred to the French footballing watchdog. You see, there's a death loop that happens here. The broadcast revenue is split amongst all the clubs. So when the broadcast revenue gets reduced, clubs get less money, which means they can't attract new talent and they can't retain the talent that's already there. Other leagues and clubs sense they can poach talent at cut price opportunities and swoop in. When the talent leaves the league, broadcasters and sponsors say, why would we invest as much money here when all of the good talent and the exciting football is elsewhere? So the cycle starts again. This is a slippery slope. And as you can see from the years 2020 to 2023, that slope was in full effect in France. And all things were pointing to the broadcast renewal in 2024. Ligue 1 really needed help to find its feet. If you've made it this far in this video, then thank you. Since I've become a content creator, I didn't realize how much likes matter to my channel. So if you're enjoying the content, please hit the like button as soon as you can. It really, really helps me out. Now, going into 2024, the LFP wanted a broadcast deal that helped them find their feet. They were looking for a 5-year deal cycle, which is longer than some of the previous broadcast deals that they've signed. They also were targeting 1 billion euros over the 5 years. Remember Amazon swooped in and bought the rights off MediaPro? They didn't even submit a bid to renew in 2024. Canal Plus, long-standing relationship, they said no too. After months and months and months of negotiations, streaming service DAZN struck a deal with the French Football Federation for 400 million euros. That deal allowed them to show 9 matches a week, and they got 100 million euros from beIN Sports to show 1 match a week. Wanted 1 billion, got half. The scary thing is though, DAZN was smart. The deal had 2 stipulations. They saw what happened to MediaPro before, and they said, this is a 5-year deal, but we want a break clause after year 2 if we don't get 1.5 million subscribers. If we do get 1.5 million subscribers, great, we're going to give you an extra 50 million as a bonus for getting there. But we can leave after 2 years if this doesn't work out. Just days before recording this video, reports suggested that DAZN have only got 400,000 subscribers, nowhere near the 1.5 million they need, and are already renegotiating the deal. It's sad. So sad. As an observer and a fan of French football, there are 3 things that I observe from this debacle in France. The first is that I really do not think the suffering is over for French clubs. And I have strong conviction in that take because this has happened before, right here in the UK. Back in the year 2000, ITV signed a massive deal with the English Football League, quadrupling the broadcast rights from Sky Sports the year before. Yes, quadrupling. The money flooded into the lower leagues of English football, but again fell sour very, very quickly. In the years following the ITV digital collapse, 12 clubs went into administration, citing the collapse of the media rights being a big factor in the downfall of the football club. Bradford City, Leicester, Notts County, Ipswich Town, Wimbledon, just 5 of the 12 I'm talking about, all suffered in the years after the media collapse. I mentioned some French clubs were relegated, going through administration earlier on in this video. There's a lot more coming. I'm pretty sure of that. The second observation I have is a cautionary tale about launching your own streaming service. MediaPro were forward thinking in their strategy. A streaming service for French football is a good idea. As a reminder, they needed 3.5 million subscribers to break even. DAZN needed 1.5 million subscribers to make the investment viable. Neither of them reached the levels that they wanted to. There's been many rumours and calls for the Premier League to launch a Premflix subscription service where all Premier League games are shown and broadcast to fans from one place. There are significant tailwinds that the Premier League has over French football. It's a much stronger league, there's a lot more talent here, and there's a long history of fans investing into the sport to watch games. However, it's not a foregone conclusion that it's a success. It's a big risk, and you can probably see why the Premier League hasn't rushed to take those steps. Selling smaller broadcast packages to other streaming services is cool and innovative, but the main broadcast package tends to be from an established relationship. Darts with Sky Sports, Wimbledon with BBC, they spring to mind here in the UK. Moving the core broadcaster creates some derision and inertia amongst fans, and sometimes causes issues. The final thing is the impact on society. Do you remember those videos of Kylian Mbappe going to see Emmanuel Macron? Maybe I'm purely speculating at this point, but it wouldn't surprise me if Macron was urging Mbappe to stay in France. Mbappe playing in the French league is such a strong signal of strength for the future of the division that it would probably inspire broadcasters and sponsors to invest a little bit more than they were planning to already. I imagine Macron was saying, "Help me. Let's rebuild French football together." Maybe I'm being dramatic, but it really wouldn't surprise me if the government had to intervene and help some of these French clubs and French football out in the not too distant future. And Mbappe could have just been a part and a beacon of confidence for the league, but it wasn't to be. It's crazy how much French football has given the world, and I've said this a few times, but it's sad to see where French football is today. But let this be a cautionary tale to bad business impacting things happening on the pitch. I'm Jordan. I'm on a mission to make the business of sport as accessible as possible. I've mentioned private equity in European football a lot in this video. Click here to watch why. But to watch a video about a league that's in the complete opposite situation of France, watch here. Thank you. See you soon.